This is Jay Martin.
Let me ask you a question. This came up last night. I was hosting a masterclass for my commodity university students. This is a online course platform for anybody who's brand new to investing in the commodity sector. There's a whole catalog of courses, 11 instructors. We do monthly meetups. Last night, somebody asked me, what's the right allocation of physical? Now, we spend most of our time talking about equity portfolios. So we get into position sizing and investments versus speculations and how to position accordingly. Somebody brought up, he's like, do you include physical in your wealth portfolio? We talk about position sizing. And if not, how do you determine the right allocation of physical gold? And it was, it's such an interesting question because I find that to be very objective. It's like, well, I have my own personal needs and demands based on my situation. I got 3 young kids. They're completely dependent on me. I need a bigger safety net than most people, I think, or than I used to 10 years ago. Better context. How do you counsel somebody who asks you, what's the right amount of physical for me to own?
I love that question so much. That's where, there's 2 different values. Wall Street wants to sell you on intrinsic value, which is based on their formulations and easy to manipulate. But I say you need to look at the fundamental value, which is the true value of any instrument or any asset. So when we're building a portfolio and we know, okay, you've got this much in your stock portfolio, right? Using the fundamental value of gold and silver helps us determine how much gold do you need to properly diversify that intangible portfolio. So we use the fundamental value to determine what that is. We also have it broken down in the barterable part of the portfolio. This is where we're taking into account your current standard of living. And we have it divided up into barterable silver and barterable gold. So as example, if I'm analyzing a portfolio and making a recommendation, I'm going to look at what your day-to-day expenses are. Your food, maybe your gasoline, those kinds of things. And then I'm going to suggest how much silver you need based on that. But things like property taxes, right? Things like chronic illnesses that you might be dealing with, that kind of thing, then that's where you want to go to the barterable gold. But the determination of how much you need is based on the fundamental value, not what Wall Street wants you to believe is the intrinsic value, but the true fundamental value. Because I really can't give you a lot of guarantees, but I can guarantee you this. At some point, all assets end up at their fundamental value. And going back to that purchasing power chart, because when you're an intangible portfolio that you can only convert into these, the real trend is not what's happening with that stock or the markets or any of that. The real trend is in the purchasing power value. And if you look at that graph, you'll see where it started out at $1. And you'll see down at that bottom on the left-hand axis, a big fat 0. Big fat 0. So we can determine that's the true fundamental value of one of these. I mean, I have a $10 trillion Zimbabwe note. It doesn't matter what it is. I can't buy anything with it. So you need to understand the true fundamental value of whatever it is that you're doing, and then the appropriate balance, the appropriate diversification to protect that. Then do whatever you want after that, because you can sleep at night, whether you're right or whether you're wrong, which is pretty much how I like to operate. I'm not a very good short-term trader. That's just not where my mentality is. I am a long-term strategist, and that's the way we determine it.
Most investors think they're playing it safe, following mainstream advice, chasing trends, and clinging to the herd mentality. But there is nothing safe about mainstream advice. The smartest investors know that real wins come from thinking independently and spotting opportunities long before the crowd. And that's what we teach at the Commodity University. This is an exclusive membership designed to arm you with the skills from the sharpest minds in the mining investment world. Each of our professionals has a proven track record of finding trends before anyone else. At the Commodity University, you'll gain access to a highly curated and growing catalog of courses covering what you actually need to know to become an informed commodity investor. Every single month, you'll receive a brand new course packed with insights from the best in the business, giving you the edge to stay ahead. If you're tired of following the crowd and ready to invest smarter, think sharper, and understand the mining industry like the professionals, then take the next step and join the Commodity University today.